Hey, I am keeping my hair under wraps today. It's a little wild this morning. Uh, I want to do just a quick video on something that was bugging me, and it's just the simple topic of can we use science to determine our morals? And the answer in a nutshell is no, but here's why. Science is a tool for understanding the world around us. We observe the world around us. We then kind of hypothesize why things are the way they are. We make tests to see if our hypotheses play out. If so, then we've got scientific theories, and these theories can help us do other things that we want to do. But what we want to do is not a scientific judgment. And here's an example. When I like going to these occasionally I like going to these Mensa colloquiums. And Mensa is the High IQ Society, and I'm a member. And don't take that for much, though. I mean, Mensa. The one thing that I can tell you about being in Mensa is that they'll get your jokes. That is like the one universally true thing about high IQ people is they'll get your jokes. They might not think they're funny, but they'll at least understand the reference. But that's it. There's no other correlation. There's no correlation with wisdom. There's no correlation with attractiveness. There's no correlation with anything else. So just take it as it is. But they have these things once a year, usually when COVID doesn't have us all locked down, called colloquiums, and that's where they pick a scientific topic and they bring people in to talk to a bunch of people willing to pay to listen to a bunch of smart people talk on a subject. And the smart people being the people they bring in, not the Mensa people. The Mensa people are just the ones who'll get the jokes. So I went to a colloquium on games, and there was a person who had studied how kids developed in conjunction with video games. And what they did was they did a test or an experiment or a study where they had nice kids and bad kids. And they had the nice kids and the bad kids divided into two groups each. So then there were the nice kids that didn't play video games. There were the bad kids that didn't play video games. And then there were the nice kids that played aggressive video games and the bad kids that played aggressive video games. So these were kids who had all been tested for their levels of aggression, because aggression was the determining factor in whether they were considered nice kids versus bad kids. And when they went through the experiment, they found that the nice kids who played aggressive video games tested higher for aggression than the bad kids who didn't play video games. So they found that playing these aggressive video games would actually raise a nice kid's level of aggression beyond a bad kid's level of aggression. Now, what do you do with that knowledge? Okay, so that's all science. That's all science there. All right? Now, what do you do with that knowledge? Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to, let's say your kid, your own kid, do you want your kid playing aggressive video games? Well, that depends on you, right? Because even though the study says, hey, here are the levels of aggression in all these kids, who made the value judgment to say that aggression is a bad thing? Aggression's not always a bad thing. Don't you want your lawyer to be aggressive on your behalf? If you're on a sporting team, don't you want aggressive players? Don't you want your diplomats to aggressively negotiate on behalf of your country? Who makes the value judgment to call aggression a bad thing? Well, it's not science that made that determination. And it's not science that's going to tell you what to do. I mean, if you've already got, say, an aggressive child and you think this child's getting out of control, well, maybe you want to make sure that he stays away from violent video games or the aggressive video games. But if you've got a child who's trying out for sports and you realize your kid just doesn't really have the killer instinct that you need for the sport that he's chosen, maybe you do want your child playing these aggressive video games. Because maybe then he'll be a better sportsman. Because you're out on the football field, you're out on the soccer field. Sometimes you got to go for it. Sometimes you got to be aggressive and take the shot. So this whole idea that we want a less overall less aggressive society, blah blah blah, maybe, maybe not. If there's times when we want individuals to be more rather than less aggressive, maybe there's times when society should be more rather than less aggressive. I don't know. But that judgment is not something that science is going to tell you. And maybe you're saying, oh, but wait, we can measure aggression in societies and then tell whether the societies have more economic productivity or not. That's entirely true. That would be a scientific thing. If you could observe aggression levels in society and correlate that with their economic productivity and find out that the less aggressive societies have more economic productivity, great. But then you got to ask, well, who said economic productivity is the higher value? Maybe because a country is in a constant state of war, they need aggression more than they need economic productivity, because they need their soldiers to be better. It all depends on what you want, and science will never tell you what you want. Okay? It takes predefined values to take science and then guide it into steering you where you want to go. If you want X, you can use science to take you to X. And if you don't want X, then you can use science to steer you away from X. But whether you want X or whether you don't, and I'm talking about just X as a variable, not ecstasy the drug, by the way. I can't believe I have to say that, but I do. Whatever it is that you want, science can help you get there. But what you want, and especially what you should want, that is beyond science's purview. I'm Mike Bortica, and that was just something that was on my mind today. If you like my content, please subscribe, and I will talk to y'all later.